Good morning, YouTube. Today we have Danny here with what?
We have Infernoble Knights, and I'll kind of go through the version I play and why I play it and kind of some different of the combos that you can do and why I think right now this is like kind of a good time to make a profile about this deck. We will start with the Neospace Connector and the Aqua Dolphin. These are just like the best normal summons in the deck. Like, this deck can still hand loop, still gets the free information of looking at your opponent's hand. This is the best normal summon of the deck. It is so good. That's why we play this card no matter what. We do play the one Ogier. We only play 5 normal summons in the deck. This card is really good because now that VFD is kind of out of the picture, the combo where you make this with Gearfried on the first turn is actually a lot more viable than it used to be. So that's why we still like to play it. And once again, just 5 normal summons. More likely than not, you'll see 1, and that's all you want to do. Because this deck is like the master of 2-card combos. We do play only 2 Renaud. 3 is kind of bricky, but you can definitely choose to play 3 if you want. You can kind of adjust the main deck as you wish, but at least 2 for sure. And then Oliver is cracked. This is like probably one of the best ones. It helps for comeback potential. It's like an extra tuner. It's like really good. It's still like really, like probably one of the best ones. And that's those. Next we will go to like kind of the extenders. We are playing 3 Red Lair. This is a free special summon if you don't control any monsters, but the reason why we still play 3 is we can recycle them. Like, it's super good. And it's not once per turn either, the special summon. So you special summon it, and if it gets bounced back to your hand, you can just special summon it again. Or if you have one in graveyard and you special summon it, you can add back another one, and if they remove this, you can just special summon the one that you got back. So that's why we still like that. And then Fire Flint Lady. There's a specific card that we want to summon off of Isolde, and if we draw it, you can just summon this off of Isolde instead and use its effect to get that monster out of your hand. But also, once again, it's still just like a free summon. That's why we still like to play it at 3 copies. We are playing the one Gearfried. It's just for follow-ups primarily, or the Ogier combo. That's why we don't want to play too many of it. We are actually back to Gemba. We actually were off of Gemba for just like a little bit, but for this specific build, when we're more focused on making Boral Savage, Herald, and Charles, we do want to play this. And I am playing the Despotto 1. You don't really want to see it in your hand, but you can still play if you can. Coltwing is actually not that bad of a brick if you see it in your hand. Your hand does have to be a little bit specific in order to make it work, but you can still play with this. I will say we're not playing Phantom Knights specifically because a lot of the Grave-centric hand traps that were played in the last format are still really strong right now. And while, yes, they do offer a little bit more protection against Nib because you can do a little bit more combos, you have to play a lot more bricky cards. So, like, in addition to the Torn Scales, which is an extra normal summon, by the way, you also have to play Armageddon Knight, which is another normal summon, and then you have to play Plague Spreader Zombie, which that's a good card to play. But then you also have to play more equipped spells, and you have to play the 2 Cloaks and the Boots, which do nothing in your hand unless you already have like the Torn Scales out. So you're just playing way too many cards that you just don't want to see in your hand, when all of these cards, you just don't mind seeing them in your hand, aside from like Coltwing. So that's why I chose to go more of a pure version rather instead of the Phantom Knight version. I think this is the best version right now. And then just 3 Ash and the Ciphering package. These are only like hand traps you need. You can side them out or in according to what your matchups are. It is a combo deck, so you do want to go first. This deck is like probably one of the best decks at going first, but going second, if you open up at least 2 hand traps, you're golden. And that's it for the monsters. For the spells, we are playing 3 Heritage of Chalice and 3 Durendal. Basically, these plus the Rota means you have 7 Rotas. Because these search out like any of your level 5 or lower Fire Warriors. This searches out this or any of your other Infernobles, and this just searches anything in your deck besides like the level 5. What's really cool about this going second is that you can equip this to an opponent's monster and then search out the Red Lair, and then you can just start summoning. So that's why it's really good, because I played it at this deck at a case tournament and lost the die roll like every time. So being able to have the Durendal for going second is super good. And just kind of for the other cards, we do unfortunately have to play more DDR. I did prefer the days when we didn't have to play this at 3, but for this specific version, we kind of have to. But we do only play one Living Fossil, the one Divine Sword Phoenix Blade. This gives us at least 4 different kinds of equip spells for the Genba, so it's fine. And even these cards aren't even that bad to draw. The reason why I specifically play Living Fossil at 1 and DDR at 3 is DDR is not once per turn. Living Fossil is. So if you open up Living Fossil, you essentially, like if you open up the one Living Fossil out of 3, it's once per turn. So that's kind of the issue I have with it. And we do play the one Monster Reborn. It's just a good generic extender. I mean, why not? And that's the main deck. It's 40 cards. For the extra deck, we have our tokens.
Very nice, very nice.
We do play 2 Isolde. The reason why you want to play 2 is for follow-ups. Because players, a lot of the times, do not know which effect to hit. So if you summon this and they hit the first effect, you just go into a second one, and then you use the second effect. Or if they ash the first effect, you can just still use the second effect. It's essentially for follow-ups. So if they don't stop the Isolde, which they probably won't, you essentially make the second one on your next turn for follow-up and go for game. We do play the Hockey Firebrax. I mean, it's just kind of where all your combos kind of come from. Unfortunately, with this build, we do have to make it kind of early. But if you know what your opponent's playing in kind of their hand, you can kind of mix and match your plays kind of a little bit to kind of get out of it. Board Blocker, it's just kind of to clear up space, because sometimes you might have too many monsters and you need a lot of the times like at least 4 monster zone spots. So this helps just clear up space so that you can make the Auroradon. Auroradon is also for this combo to bring out the Colt Wing. That's what he's for. Nightmare Unicorn, it also helps to clear up space, but it also is like really good for going second. So if you're going second, you need to clear up space, you can summon this and clear off a monster. And Boral Sword, I actually think Boral Sword is like still really good in this deck. I know that a lot of people play Access Code, and you totally can. I would call this like a decent like budget option, like something that you can play if you don't have access to Access Code. And this still works out really good and steals games on its own. That's the Link monsters. We do play Abyss Dweller. It doesn't come up that often, but we can actually make rank 4s in this deck. So whenever we do choose to make a rank 4, this is just really good against Dragon Link right now. For the Synchros, make Herald. This deck can like still play Herald over other combo decks, so that's why we still play the 1. It's really good. The Roland, a lot of your combos will at least end with you having Roland, so it's just really good for Charles Pop, gets you more searches for the end board. We do play the Power Tool Dragon. The Power Tool Dragon is basically for the DDRs. It's still really good. We play Shooting Riser Dragon. This is just in case you get drolled. So if you get drolled, you just make Shooting Riser instead, and then that's how you continue to combo from there. We do play the Borreload Savage. That's for the end board. You should always be able to make this. We do play the Cyframe Gear Omega. This is mostly just like for hand ripping. This doesn't come up like as often, but it's still like there. And then Charles. Charles is a pop. Gets you to like equip him with like Durandal at end phase plus like Renaud, so that you have like follow up for the next turn whenever he gets cleared, and he's just a pop for next turn. So that's just really good. And that is my Infernoble build. I think right now was like a good time to talk about Infernoble Knights, because a lot of people were wondering, how do you still play this deck under the new format? Because I don't see a lot of people talking about it, because why would you play this when you can just play Dragon Link instead? But I still think Infernoble Knight has a really good chance, because the deck is still fragile to Nibiru for sure, but Nibiru isn't that strong against a lot of the other decks right now. Maybe just like Dragon Link, maybe. So you might or might not even have to worry about Nibiru that much. But if it does come up, you know, there's ways to play around it. The deck is still really strong when it goes off, and behind the right pilot, this deck is still very strong. So that's all I had to say about it. I hope you enjoyed that.
Awesome, awesome.